The Grace of Disillusionment. I think one of the things that a lot of people are discovering right now is how much the world is full of shit. And how many systems, how many governments, how many supposed authorities, whether it's in a social world, an economic world, a political world, a religious world, even in a scientific world, how much those people who have been writing on their reputations as an authority have been full of shit, and how much they've been fleecing us. This might sound like a negative video. It is absolutely not, because disillusionment simply means that the illusion we were living under is no longer upon us. It's the breaking of a spell. It's seeing outside of what we used to see what the real world looks like. And that is an absolutely necessary first step in creating a world that we actually want to live in, that we want to participate in, that is better for us, for other people, for our children. This might be a lot shorter of a video than I thought. I think I just said everything I wanted to say. Don't run from the truth. Don't be afraid of finding out that everything you believe was a lie. It's not as painful as it seems when you separate the pain of the experience of losing a worldview from the fear of being without a worldview. Then what you have is a healthy pain, a healthy sense of mourning, a healthy sense of loss, separated from the torment of fear about what this might mean and what's going to happen in the future. And oh my God, who am I if I'm not these things? And if I'm not if I'm not affiliated with this group, if I'm not a part of this movement. You don't need to be afraid of that. You can recognize that a system that you were participating in, a community that you were a part of, you can recognize that it was full of flawed humans, that it was a house of cards, that some people who may have been managing it or who have started it were not who they said they were, that people may not have cared as much about you and about the world and about some future utopia as you thought they did. You can recognize all of that, mourn the loss, go through the process, have the grieving experience, without being afraid that nothing will catch you, without being afraid that nothing will replace it. Falling has its own challenges, but flailing on the way down and freaking out about hitting the ground is a totally separate experience from the experience of falling. My personal experience with disillusionment has been absolutely invaluable. It has been one of the most fantastic experiences of my life. So much so that I'm starting to get addicted to disillusionment. Because from my experience, breaking out of these systems and these movements has been way more powerful than buying into them. And I find that when I'm in a place where I feel like I'm floating in space, where I have no real compass, where I have no points of reference, and it's just me out in the vast openness of life, with less beliefs or no beliefs, with less or no identity, I find that that's a space that I can actually expand into. That I don't need to be hemmed in anymore, at least not to the degree that I used to want to be hemmed in. I don't need something to confine me, to tell me who I am, whether it's a movement or whether it's a political affiliation or any of those things. I don't need those things like I used to. What I want more than anything is the wide open, vast space to expand into and to end up actually kind of melding into, where I can lose a lot of my sense of self, where I can lose the ego and just sort of blend in to the universe and participate in a more subtle way. Now, that formless nature that I think that we all have, I think that that develops and that comes out through the process of disillusionment, through the process of disassociating with systems, confines. But that doesn't mean that we can't take form when there's a purpose. We don't bleed out into the universe unable to recollect ourselves when there's a purpose. So we are formless, but we can take form when there is a purpose and there is a reason. We can reassemble ourselves in a particular direction to make a difference, to make an impact, to operate on whatever plane it is necessary to operate on that we feel called to participate in. But when that purpose is done, we can move back into a more formless, free-flowing version of ourselves, expanding back into who we are in a greater sense, into a higher level of consciousness. So this video may seem like it took kind of a strange turn, but to me, this is the grace of disillusionment. We are going to go through more of it. It is going to happen, whether we want it to or not. The things that we have previously identified with are going to be taken. They will burn in the fire. And that is grace. That is a good thing. That is because we need to expand beyond our former identities. If we are going to participate in the world, in the future, and in the very short coming future, in a meaningful way, in the way that actually at the end we'll be glad we participated in, we are going to have to let go of some of these identities. And that usually comes in the process of disillusionment. We're going to have to accept that entire nations are house of cards, that some of the most powerful governments in the world are so entirely full of crap that it is really hard to believe. We're going to have to come to terms with how weak and ineffective our groups are that we identify with, politically, socially, economically, a lot of times religiously. And I think we're getting to see a lot of that. We're already seeing a lot of that. We've gotten to see really a lot more of it over the last couple of years. And I think I'll leave it there. That's my video on the grace of disillusionment. I hope you embrace it. I hope you're open to it. I hope that you are already finding the freedom of standing in the truth of who you are without some authority validating you and telling you that you have permission to be who you are. Without an authority telling you that you have a right to exist. You have a place here. You have a place here in this world, on this earth. And you don't have to justify that. You don't have to participate in any particular movement or any particular group. You don't have to identify with any particular thing. This is your birthright. You have a place here. This is yours. Don't let anybody tell you that you need to constrict, that you need to contract, that you need to make yourself less. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to explain yourself. Don't let anybody tell you that you need a why. Why are you here? What is your purpose? Doesn't matter. You want a purpose? Find one. I don't want a purpose because I'm not a machine. I wasn't put here to execute a program. I don't need a purpose. Doesn't mean my life doesn't have meaning, and it doesn't mean that it won't be fruitful. But I don't explain my existence in terms of why. And I don't explain my existence in terms of what or who. Who do you belong to? What philosophy do you stand under? What political party do you stand under? Nope. Nope, not doing that. Nope. I'm not giving up my power that easily. And I hope through this process of disillusionment that more and more people come to terms with how unnecessary these systems and structures are that we have been subscribing to and participating in.